You know, I like to think of myself as an expert in travel. Been in travel for years, over 10 years now, doing travel planning for my clients. I got all the certifications that I set out to get when I started in this industry to set myself above. Gotten my experience, personal experience in traveling to a variety of countries and a variety of destinations, resorts, etc. I try to keep up in my periodicals, my magazines, and my articles on the internet related to travel, so I stay up to speed on what's going on in the industry. So, I like to think definitely that I'm a travel expert. I've planned a lot of trips for a lot of people, and I kind of know the ins and outs of making sure things go well, the logistics, and all that good stuff. So, there's this question we get in our industry, and I get a lot, especially here lately with some of the stuff in the news. And honestly, they want my expert opinion, and I it's hard for me to say I can give you an expert opinion on the question because the question is a little it's not ambiguous, but it's hard to give a real truthful answer because again, this is about truth and travel. These little video segments I'm doing, and people want my expert opinion on this question. And the question is it safe to travel to a certain destination? That's the question. They want me to tell them, in my expert opinion, whether I think it's safe. There's a lot of people out there that claim to be experts, and bloggers, and writers, and journalists, and news uh, agencies, and things that are doing a lot to report on safety in travel and safety in destinations. And honestly, I don't think they're giving everybody the real facts of the matter. I don't think they're giving the whole truth, and I don't think they're experts because I don't see how anybody could be an expert when it comes to safety. Safety is pretty relative. I mean, if you really think about it, is it safe to go to Spain? A lot of people thought so, including myself. Wouldn't hesitate to send anybody to Spain. Still wouldn't hesitate to send anybody to Spain, but the terrorist attack recently has made some people question how safe it is to go to a big city in Europe like Barcelona. I'd go there tomorrow. Does that mean it's safe? No. But let's get to the truth in travel. So let's address the question: is it safe to go to Mexico right now? Is it safe to go to Paris right now? Is it safe to go to Jamaica right now? Is it safe to go to Rome or to Athens, Greece, or anywhere? Is it safe to go to New York City right now or Chicago? I really don't know. I would say it's as safe to go to any of those places I just mentioned as it is to go wherever you're living right now and get out of the house. It's just as safe. I have a feeling there's crime happening where, unless you're living somewhere like off the grid, up in the mountains or in some deserted location, I have a feeling crime has just happened somewhere nearby. That's my guess. And my guess is it might have been a violent crime. Could have been a burglary or a mugging. It could have been an assault with a weapon. It could have been a shooting. It could have been stabbing. It could be anything. Probably not too far, especially if you're anywhere near a metropolitan area. I don't care if it's Houston, Texas, which by the way has one of the highest criminal or crime rates we don't like to talk about. Whether it's Houston, Texas, Los Angeles, California, Oklahoma City, Oklahoma, New York City, Newark, New Jersey, Chicago, Illinois. Talk about crime rate. I don't care where you're at. If you're anywhere near a metropolitan area right now, there's crime happening, and there is a chance when you leave the house you could be the victim of a random act of violence. That's the fact. That's what's going on in our country. So when people ask me, is it safe to go to other places? I say, it is. But it's just as safe as it is going anywhere in our country. So I say that, I don't mean to minimize or kind of not address the issue, but really this is how I have to address the issue. People right now want to know if it's safe to go to Mexico. I've been to Mexico countless times. I sent numerous amounts of clients to Mexico. I would go to Mexico again tomorrow. Does that mean it's safe? Yes and no. It means it can be. If I go there and nothing happens to me and I have the best time of my life and I make it home safely, including the flight and the drive from airport to home, if I make it home safely, then I would say it was a safe trip. Now, if I go to a destination, whether it's Mexico or anywhere else, and something in the way of random acts of violence happening against me, guess what? I'm going to say it wasn't very safe for me. But does that mean we shouldn't go? Does that mean we all should just decide, you know what, let's just stay in our cocoons in our homes and not go anywhere? No. Just means that's the reality we're living in. Violence happens. But let's keep in perspective when somebody talks about a destination, talks about is it safe, let's not ignore statistics. Because statistics say a lot. And honestly, we like to believe statistics when they basically prove something we want to prove, but we don't like to believe statistics when they don't prove what we're already in our mind, already convinced we're going to try to set out to prove. As an example, the statistics show that the crime rates in our own country, in the United States of America, are much higher than most destinations you're ever going to go to in the Caribbean, including Mexico. That's a fact. That's statistics. So my chances of having violent crime happen against me in Mexico statistically is actually lower right now, even with the State Department warnings and all the things going on about Mexico right now. It's still safer statistically for me to go to Mexico than it would be for me to stay home here in my own country or to travel within my own country, especially to the large metropolitan areas. That's statistically speaking. Now, again, does that mean I can go to Mexico and be a victim of a crime because of cartels? Yes, it could be. Even though a lot of that's not happening at resorts, a lot of that is not happening, even though it's in a resort town. People, it's like saying what's happening in New York City is so generalized that you think that wherever you go as a tourist, you have a high chance of becoming a victim of crime. Well, there's areas of New York City where the chances are much higher, right? Because of the size of the city. The same in these cities, whether it's in the Caribbean, Mexico, or in Europe. If you go to a big city, there are safer areas within that city to stay, but there's less safer areas if you were to wander off into those areas. Again, Houston, Texas, New York City, Oklahoma City, Oklahoma, Los Angeles, well, you want to talk about some unsafe areas? There's some areas you better not be caught in after dark in Los Angeles. There's a lot of areas in Newark, New Jersey, where I'm not far from. If you're in there after dark, good luck. If you happen to wander in those areas, whether by accident or by planning, does that mean that all of Newark is unsafe? Does that mean all of Oklahoma City is unsafe or all of New York City? No, that's silly. It's just silly. Does that mean that all of Cancun or Cabo or Puerto Vallarta or Cozumel or Playa del Carmen or all these areas that we send clients to in Mexico, is all those areas are unsafe because crime is happening in those cities? No. It means there's probably some areas I'd stay out of. Probably I would use some caution. I'd be vigilant just like I would anywhere. So that's the advice. When somebody asks me that question, here's the advice to give. No matter where you go, whether it's here in the U.S. or abroad, be vigilant, be aware of your surroundings. Don't wander into areas you don't know, have a clue where you're going by yourself. Don't look down a dark alley and think, you know what, I'm going to just walk through here because it might be a shortcut. That would be silly and it'd be dangerous, no matter where you're at. Try staying in areas where you know there are tourists, where your chances are much less of being a victim of a crime because you are surrounded by the public, because you're in a tourist area. It means in some cases when it comes to food and drink, no matter where you're at, stick with what you know. Stick with the resorts that you've paid good money to eat and drink at. Find restaurants that are maybe common, or at least do your research on some eating establishments before you wander in and order something off their menu or order a drink. And again, that applies to a lot of places. Do I want to eat out of a food truck in Mexico? No, that would be silly. And I'd be taking a risk of coming home with some kind of revenge. Do I want to eat off a food truck in some places in other parts of the Caribbean? No. Here's a shock factor for a lot of people. You know, most of the Caribbean's third world. If you get outside the resort areas, they live well below our standards here in the U.S. So don't lump Mexico into its own little problem area and forget and think other places are so much better, because honestly they're not. It's just that's the perception being given to you by a lot of people that are writing a lot of things and saying a lot of things. Again, am I endorsing saying go to Mexico, it's 100% safe? I'm not saying that. I'm saying wherever you choose to go and wherever you ask me you want to go, this is going to be my answer. It's relative. Safety is always relative. Safety is really a word we shouldn't even be using in our world today. We all should be traveling, being vigilant, being aware of our surroundings, whether we're in airports or big cities or in European cities or domestic cities or Caribbean cities or Latin American cities. It doesn't matter. be vigilant, be aware of where you're at, stay in the tourist, use common sense, and you'll have a better chance of having the best vacation of your entire life. And you have a better chance of being safe. But again, there's some things out of your control, right? On your drive home, there's some things out of your control. And you can be safe. It doesn't mean everybody around you is going to be safe. It doesn't mean there's things in the other transportation areas where are out of your control. So safety is very relative, and we rely on other people in whether it's the pilot or the drivers to be just as safe. So there's my answer when somebody wants my expert opinion on a destination. And I hope it maybe clarifies a little bit to you. I hope it takes away the fear. Everybody's right now, we're getting lots of phone calls, lots of emails about the safety of various places, especially Mexico, because of what's being written lately. And they want my expert. And there's my opinion. All right. Would I tell you to cancel your trip to Mexico because what I'm reading? No, I wouldn't tell you to do that. Does that mean you're not going to go there? Or does that mean that you're 100% guaranteed to have a safe trip? No, it doesn't mean that at all, because there's so many things out of our control. It just means follow the simple rules and your chances are much better, again, of having the best time of your life. I would go to Mexico tomorrow. I would go to Barcelona, Spain tomorrow. I would go to London, England tomorrow. I'm going to Shannon, Ireland here pretty quick. And none of my decisions about travel outside of, we're not talking the Middle East here, so don't criticize me because I'm acting like I would go to Turkey or Afghanistan. There's some places I wouldn't go, but we're not talking about those areas. We're talking in generalities about destinations that are typical of being vacation destinations for couples and families. So there's my answer. Boy, I was really hoping this video was going to be shorter than the last one, but I knew I was going to get off on this topic. And I'm sorry if it was too long. I know some of my videos are getting long, and I know some of you are clicking off well after the intro part. But if you stuck around, hopefully this helps you. And again, as my motto is,